Hi guys, it's Theresa here of Larkin Design, and welcome to my Photoshop tutorial for my 2017 Project Life layout for week 18. And so I've started with a photocentric template from Paisley Press. I've linked below. I've actually used a 6x8 template, and I brought it into my 12 by 24 inch canvas, and of course it was 6x8, and so I just dragged the corner and enlarged it to make it 12 inches high. And always remember, with your 6x8 templates, you can do that. Just do it before you bring in your photos, because if you bring in your photos and then you enlarge it, you're going to lose your the quality of your photos. So I brought the template in, and now I'm just bringing in my photos. And so I had already selected those, and I had already done just minor edits to the photos. Typically I brighten and resize my photos for the week. I resize them down so that they're a little bit more manageable when you bring them into the template. So typically I resize to 1800 at the widest point, and of course 300 ppi. And so just some of our stories from this week. We had another session of Dungeons and Dragons. This week we had two of the boys' classmates come over. So they are hanging out in the kitchen, and then we had a date night as well. And I took this funny little picture of my purse. This purse is something that's like really adorable and really cute. I found it in Alexandria at a shop called Lulu's, and I get compliments on this purse all the time because it's patent leather and it's coral colored and it's really cute. But we had gone to a little discount store called Five Below here in North Carolina, and had bought these little panda cookies, and they were poking out of the top of my purse, and I don't know, it was just really cute. And then I also had some flowers that Alan had brought me that week, so I photographed those. And the usual cat photo. The cats usually show up in there somewhere. And I had two photos that didn't end up making it into the layout, and so that's okay. We had this really strange rainstorm that came up, and I had taken a picture of it. It was really odd. Alan and I had been out sort of working on the flowers and stuff, and all of a sudden the rain just came over our neighborhood like a curtain or something. I've never experienced that before. But anyway, I ended up not putting that photo in there because it was kind of dark, and the rest of the layout is really bright and happy. So my journaling cards that I'm using are the July MPM Memory Pockets monthly kit from the Lily Pad. It's called Snapshots, and so of course it focuses on photography and camera icons and really bright, happy colors in this kit. So you guys know I'm loving that. And I'm going to use this one here for my date card and a title card. And I'm just dragging and dropping each one into the clipping mask here. And actually, this ended up being a really balanced layout. I ended up with two 4x6 spaces that need journaling cards and four 3x4 spaces. So I'm just gonna pick my favorites and pick the ones that I like the most. Typically I like ones that have a lot of white space in them, just because they're more simple and they give you lots of space to add your physical embellishments or your stamps or stickers or whatever it is that you want to add later on in your embellishing process. So once I have them selected, it's just a matter of deciding where they go in a way that balances the layout. Since there's a heavy, colorful card in the upper left-hand corner, the rest of the journaling cards on that left-hand side probably need to be more white or more light colored. And then on the right-hand side, I have an opportunity to use more colorful cards because the larger journaling card is more white space. And of course, that journaling card will end up probably being filled with journaling. I think that's probably the major space that I have for journaling. So I'm going to use this little funky stripe here. I love that little funky stripe. It's really cute. And then here's the last card that has a lot of white space in it and just some lines across, just a little color across the bottom. I'm also adding a slight border around it. I do that in the FX menu or function menu, and it's an outer glow, and I selected the mint green color to make that little frame around it. I also have decided, and now that everything is in place, I'm gonna shrink down the white border a little bit on each side and then add something around the edges here. So I'm just trying to figure out here what size that white mat needs to be. I'm using my guidelines. Remember, you can bring down guidelines from your ruler. You just drag them and drop them where you need them to be so that everything can be lined up, and then use your snap to snap to those guidelines. Now, sometimes if you've used clipping masks, those snap tos won't work quite right if your image that you've clipped is larger than your mask itself. And I'll be honest, sometimes my elements are eyeballed a little bit, and then I'll print them out, and sometimes the lines aren't completely lined up. It's okay. It really is okay. So now I'm going to work on what I want to do with the background here. And right now I'm thinking that I want to do this solid pink. There were solids included in the NPM kit. So I've placed that on both sides, and I'm just looking at it to see what I think about that once I get everything lined up again. And that's not quite what I'm wanting to do. But I do need to line up that left-hand side here. It just needs a little bit more tweaking just to get it lined up. And then center the elements on the mat again. Alright. So I'm just going to look through the kit here and kind of looking to see if there's a pattern that I want to repeat. Maybe. Or some elements. I like those cameras. There's something to put in those margins. I'm trying to think of how I want to handle those margins because they are a bit overpowering, right? Suddenly you're looking at the margins, not at the images themselves. So here's a pattern in a journaling card, that might be fun to duplicate and create a 12 by 12 pattern paper. There are pattern papers available in the add-ons at the Lily Pad. And I admit I've sort of looked at some of them and wasn't really inspired to buy them. So I'm going to try this and see what it looks like. It ends up being kind of busy. But you can see here how I duplicate a journaling card to create a pattern. And you just repeat it over and over again. And sometimes that's just what we do, just to try something and see how it works out for us. And I have to say, when I'm duplicating these patterns like this, I'm not really concerned with having it exactly perfect, because most of it is going to be hidden by the photos and the journaling cards themselves. Alright, I'm just getting the last little bit finalized here, and then I'm going to flatten the image and drag and drop it into the layout. And so now I get to see how that kind of looks. Yeah, it's okay, but it's not really, I don't think it's really what I want. I tried decreasing the opacity. That might be fun. It might have looked nice too if I had rotated it, but in the end I just tossed it. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to move the pink over so that it mats the white mat. And then now I have true white margins to fill. And so there's several options for filling these margins, right? You could absolutely do some journaling there, nice columns for journaling, and a text would look really cool there. I think what I'm going to do is add just a little something for some texture in these margins. And so I'm just looking in the elements that are included in that kit to see what might be used. I know I like that little pink camera. That's fun. There's also some little dots and a heart and a meter and a brush stroke. So I'm going to drop those into the layout and then just sort of play around with them. This is where digital elements have an advantage over physical elements, because you can size them up or down, you can move them around, you can clip them underneath your existing elements without damaging them. So you can play around with it here a little bit. Obviously the only difference is it's not physical paper that you're holding in your hand. So I don't know that can be a barrier for some people. Some people don't feel as comfortable moving around digital elements. And I'm one of those people. This is why I typically print my digital elements and use them as physical. And you don't see me do a lot of embellishing on a digital layout. Because I struggle sometimes with finding the look that I'm going for. But I do know here that I have two great opportunities for embellishment clusters. And I say two opportunities because I didn't want to add any of these digital elements beside the journaling cards. I wanted to add them next to the photos. And the photos are opposite each other, so that creates a diagonal line of sight, right? It leads your eye across the page. So that's perfect. And then the digital elements won't compete with the photos. I felt like they would compete with the journaling cards, right? Like that journaling card at the upper left hand corner. You don't want to add, like, that camera on top of that card would not stand out. But next to the photo of our dining room, it does pop and it does add a little spot that calls your attention to that place. In the end, what I'm going to do is print that camera, and I'm just going to add some visual pieces to be kind of a home base for the physical embellishments. And so these little beads, these are little beads here on this element. They'll be a great little backdrop for a cluster of embellishments here, and then also at the upper right hand corner. So I have the camera and the heart. I have them shown here on the digital layout. I will end up turning those layers off to print it, and then I will print those as physical embellishments. And I'll show you what the digital layout will look like. You'll get to see that at the end, and of course you'll get to see it at the beginning of my process video for embellishing as well. I hope that makes sense. My purpose in creating these hybrid layouts and creating the digital portion is to create the backdrop with the photos and the journaling, and then add the embellishments later. Alright, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later, and be sure to check out the embellishing video here coming up next. Bye bye.